Glen Burnie Transmissions is now celebrating its 50th year of providing Maryland residents with the very best in transmission services and repairs. Go to gbt-online.com. GBT is your dealer alternative. And back as promised with a very special guest right now, someone I've gotten to know over the last few years. It's unfortunate that I've gotten to know Sylvia Mackey because of the illness of your late husband, but I've gotten to know you. I admire you tremendously, and I thank you for stopping by.
Thanks for having me on, Stan.
We're going to talk a little bit about this event coming up on December 6th, but a little bit later. I wanted to talk to you about, first of all, I was at the memorial service for your husband, and I got to tell you, it was an absolutely remarkable service headed by Joe Ehrman, and some of the people that spoke were just phenomenal. But I was taken with Floyd Little, because Floyd Little was the guy, in addition to being John's teammate and a Hall of Fame player in the National Football League like John was, Floyd had his heart broken a little bit by Sylvia Mackey. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I didn't know it at the time, though. I didn't know it. I didn't know that when John was recruiting some of the guys to come to Syracuse that he was promising Sylvia Mackey as their date. And for the first time, you know, Dave Bing was in the audience, too.
Yes.
That was the first
He's
time.
He's now the mayor of Detroit.
Now the mayor of Detroit, doing a great
great
job.
Great guard in basketball history at Syracuse, yeah.
And basketball, NBA Hall of Famer,
yep.
yes.
Yep.
And Dave heard that story, and he found out that John had told him the same thing. That was the first time David heard that.
Well, the greatest part was when Floyd said, I went home for the summer, and I came back thinking I was going to have this great-looking girlfriend, and she was already scooped up by the guy who had fixed, John had fixed you up with Floyd.
But he hadn't told me he had fixed me up.
I got you.
All right?
I got you.
He had promised Floyd.
All right.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the years before the problems arose. In other words, John Mackey, we all know the history of what a great college player he was, great pro player he was. What did John do after his playing days, after becoming NFLPA president?
Well, he was basically an entrepreneur, Stan. He worked for several different companies. One was an oil supply company out of Texas. And then he would do various TV commercials and promotions. Never really one thing. He would take one project, finish that, and then go to another project.
And at this time, this is during his 40s I'm talking about, hypothetically.
Exactly.
You're in your mid-30s, into your 40s, and you're still modeling.
Yeah, actually, John and I are the same age.
Okay.
Right.
That is hard to believe, because John passed away at 69 years of age, yes. And you're the same age.
Exactly.
But you were modeling into your 50s.
Exactly. Because of marketing and an influx of baby boomers into the market who had the money to spend, they were looking at mature models also to work. If you remember, also large-size models came in.
Plus-size models.
Plus-size models, yeah. Exactly. And so we had the more mature, we had the plus-size, we even had petite models. So the market expanded to make more money, and it was working for the designers.
Now, where I wanted to go with this was, approximately, we know the last 5 years of John's life were really tough on him, really tougher on the family. But when did you start to see? John passed away this past summer at 69. Right. We know sort of 65 to 69 was really a tough time. When did Sylvia Mackey and the kids start to realize there were these problems coming up?
Actually, Stan, the really tough part was was 10 years. Let's say 60 to 69.
69, okay.
But he was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia a couple months after he turned 60. It was a relief because his behavior had been so strange up to that point that now that after you find out that something is medically wrong, then you know what you have to do to turn around and deal with it. Research to find out what is coming, because his behavior really was strange from age 55, actually age 50. 55 is when you begin to notice it. You're getting frustrated with him, not understanding, getting angry. Then the diagnosis, and it's okay now.
Okay.
Relief.
When you find that out,
Yes.
I mean, it's relief to find out there's something medically wrong.
Yes.
But I'm thinking now, so this is about 15 years ago, 14 or 15 years
That's
ago.
right.
The infancy of this problem with frontal dementia,
Yes.
frontal lobe dementia. What did you guys decide you had to do?
We were living in California, and I knew from the prognosis of everything that I'd read that he'd still be lucid, and he still knew Baltimore, and he still loved the Colts and everything. I said, let me move him back to Baltimore where he can be happy, where we can
Touch some old memories.
touch some old memories and try to keep this going as long as we can. And oh gosh, it certainly paid off. He would say, I have fond memories of Baltimore. We would take him to the game. And I think it was 2002 that, or 2003, that the
new
old
stadium-
Colts
yeah,
were
yep.
honored. And the way Steve Bisciotti set up the transition of the Colts to the Ravens, I'm so glad my husband was here for that. It was a wonderful day for us. Then there were other little funny things that would happen. He would ride down the street. We saw a big sign that said ATM, advertising an ATM machine. John said, ATM, A. Tom Maddie. He said, there's only one Tom Maddie. And see, those kind of moments brought a lot of joy to me. And he would hear Colts, and sometimes he thought he still worked for the Colts. So we'd play with him with that. It wasn't wrong to do that,
No.
you know. We'd say, you know, who do you work for? He'd say, the Colts. I said, well, you know, they called, want to know if you can play tight end this Sunday. He said, but I
don't know if
haven't
I can.
practiced.
I haven't
See,
practiced.
he said, so I still knew that he had that faculty in his brain enough to know that you had to practice to play. Then the next time he said, I'll play, but they've got to pay me $1 million. See, so he knew.
He knew they were starting to make some money.
Exactly.
All right, we're going to continue with Sylvia Mackey. We want to remind you the event is coming up, a legendary evening at Martin's West on December the 6th. We'll explain a little bit more about that right after these commercial words.
PressBox and Sports Boosters have teamed up with the Zola Leonard Group of Smith Barney Financial Advisors to present Shoes for Grades, awarding free athletic shoes to high school students who improve their grades by a full letter. Go to PressBoxOnline.com now for more information.